What if someone told you that the first year after death is not silence, nor darkness, nor distance, but a spiritual territory so sensitive that even a 5-year-old boy would be able to perceive its existence before any adult? Have you ever had the feeling, even for a moment, that something continues to live around you after someone is gone? That unsettling, almost painful doubt that there is an invisible movement happening, even when the eyes cannot see it. It's as if the soul emits a whisper that only a pure consciousness, as light as that of a small child, is able to capture, because what happens to the soul in the first year after death isn't told in books, isn't explained in religions, and isn't understood by logic. It's something that vibrates in the invisible, a cycle of transition so profound that only an intuitive perception, the same that a 5-year-old boy still carries before the world teaches him to ignore what cannot be touched, would be able to perceive it. And when this question arises, where does the soul go and what does it experience right after it departs? Something within each person awakens, as if asking, "Discover now what has always been hidden." The reason why so many people have doubts, fears, or confused perceptions about what happens to the soul immediately after death is not just a lack of spiritual information. It stems from social, emotional, and even age-related factors that shape how each individual interprets the invisible. People grow up being taught to look only at what is concrete, tangible, and measurable. Society values logic, control, and objectivity, but discourages sensitivity, inner silence, and intuition, precisely the elements necessary to understand what happens beyond the physical body. Current research shows that over 60% of people have reported feeling some kind of gentle presence, striking dream, or unexplained sign in the first few months after losing someone close. This is no coincidence. In the spiritual realm, the first year of a soul's absence from the body is a period of great energetic movement. But this movement is so subtle that it doesn't reach eyes trained only to matter. The energetic veil that envelops the physical plane acts like a thin layer of fog, and only those with preserved sensitivity can notice when it moves. This is why a pure consciousness, like that of a 5-year-old boy, not yet shaped by social fears or excessive rationality, feels what adults have unlearned to feel. While adults interpret everything logically, trying to find rational explanations, a child perceives vibrations. They notice details, changes in the air, sensations that seem to come from a non-physical place. They don't question the subtle field, they recognize it. In everyday life, this appears in simple ways. The wind changing for no reason, the shiver that arises silently, the sudden memory of someone who has passed away, the feeling that something has entered the room and, although no one sees it, the energy changes. These signs are part of the spiritual transition of the recently deceased soul. But they go unnoticed by those who live trapped in the material plane. The problem is common because most people live disconnected from their own intuition. They no longer remember what they knew when they were 5 years old. They don't recognize the signs. They don't understand the subtle movements. They don't perceive the energetic lightness that touches the environment when a soul goes through its first stages after leaving the body. It's a universal theme because everyone at some point feels the presence of someone who has passed away, but almost no one understands where these phenomena come from. If this topic resonates with you, join our community and subscribe to the channel. Here we discuss spiritual health and physical well-being in a clear, truthful way, with tips that truly make a difference. There is something that accompanies the soul long before it leaves the body, something that does not belong to the physical world and does not dissolve with death. It is a silent presence, built little by little over countless incarnations. An ancient vibration that the soul carries without realizing it, formed by memories that have not been released, repeated emotions that have crystallized, spiritual bonds that have remained open, and experiences that have left marks on the perispirit. None of this is visible, but it is profoundly real. The soul carries this energetic core as if it were a forgotten point within itself, a vibratory center that traverses lives and resurfaces whenever it needs to be recognized. Sometimes it reveals itself as a strange inner sensation, as a gentle restlessness, as a dense vibration that appears without warning, or as a repetitive emotional pattern that the person cannot explain. This core doesn't come into existence all at once. It forms layer by layer. In each life, the soul experiences joys, fears, falls, lessons, losses, and reunions. Some emotions are resolved, others are not. Some experiences dissolve naturally, others become fixed in the energy field, like dust accumulated on a surface that is never truly cleaned. Each choice leaves a vibrational trace. Each trauma creates a discrete mark. Each unfulfilled promise transforms into a small fissure. Over the course of incarnations, all of this adds up and transforms into a point of density. People usually don't perceive this accumulation because they live trapped in the material plane and lack the sensitivity to notice what happens beyond what the eyes see. But on the spiritual level, this point has always been there, quiet, waiting to be recognized. It remains hidden because the human body, at birth, covers the soul with a kind of necessary forgetfulness. The brain cannot bear to carry memories of all existences, so the mind blocks access to deep memories. The ego, in an attempt to protect the person, erects emotional barriers that hide anything that might cause discomfort. Throughout life, society teaches people to silence their intuition, to doubt their own perceptions, to ignore the signals that the spirit tries to send. Over time, sensitivity weakens, and the energetic core remains there, invisible, untouched, as if no one knew of its existence. Even so, it continues to emit discrete vibrations, like a distant echo that has never been answered, awaiting the right moment to emerge. This is why the archetype of the 5-year-old boy is so important for understanding this invisible part of the soul. He represents the intuitive purity that the adult has lost, the recent connection with the spiritual plane, and the mediumistic sensitivity that has not been stifled by logic. A child so young still perceives vibrations that the adult has already learned to ignore. It is as if the veil of spiritual memory is only beginning to close, allowing him to instinctively recognize what exists beyond the body. What the adult interprets as coincidence or imagination, a child's consciousness would perceive as a light, almost imperceptible call coming from within the soul. The boy symbolizes the ability to notice that which has no form, that which has not been said, that which vibrates in silence. He represents the state in which intuition is stronger than fear. Understanding this invisible villain is like imagining a locked room within the soul, untouched for centuries, filled with ancient objects that haven't been moved since another life. It's like a subtle perfume from a past existence, recognized only by the deeply sensitive. It's like a heavy door within the spirit, only opening when someone finally remembers the key lost even before birth. It's like a spiritual attic filled with letters, memories, and fragments kept in boxes that have never been opened. It's an inner place where energy has accumulated for so long that the soul has almost forgotten it exists. And the most surprising thing is that nothing here is revealed with violence or fear. This ancient presence manifests itself gently, merely reminding us that something needs to be looked at. It doesn't threaten, doesn't demand, doesn't compel. It's simply there, awaiting the moment when the spirit will have enough space, light, and clarity to see what it has kept hidden for centuries. The first year after death is when this core finally emerges, not to punish, but to be understood, recognized, and for the first time in a long time, illuminated. When this forgotten point of the soul receives no attention, its silent presence begins to influence both physical life and the spiritual journey, even if the person never realizes it. Before death, it manifests as emotional patterns that insist on returning, as relationships that always seem to repeat the same fate, as old fears that cannot be explained by personal history. After death, this same vibratory core gains even more prominence because nothing else exists to distract it. Without a body, without routine, without material urgencies, the soul begins to feel everything with greater clarity, as if sensitivity were amplified and what was hidden became impossible to ignore. The soul realizes that it carries within itself a kind of energetic weight, not suffering, but a density that prevents the spirit from moving fully to lighter regions of the spiritual plane. This weight manifests as a difficulty in letting go, as a feeling that something was left unfinished, as if a part of the soul remained attached to old stories that no longer belong to the spiritual present. It is common that, in this first year after disincarnation, the soul experiences moments of subtle confusion, as if trying to reorganize a chest full of objects it has carried for centuries, without ever stopping to examine them. Some spirits report, in experiences narrated by mediums of serious study, the impression that they are walking through internal corridors where old doors open by themselves, revealing memories they didn't know still existed. Others describe the sensation of revisiting significant events with such intense emotional clarity that it seems to surpass any physical memory of the incarnation. None of this is punishment. It is merely understanding. But this understanding has a weight for those who are not prepared. This impact doesn't only occur on a spiritual level. It permeates the physical world during life. Some people spend years experiencing inexplicable emotional fatigue, a sudden onset of sadness or anxiety that appears without reason. Psychological studies related to spirituality indicate that about 40% of people report feeling deep emotions that don't seem to be their own, as if they were carrying something ancestral. From a spiritual perspective, this is precisely a reflection of a forgotten point in the soul, an ancient vibrational memory trying to reveal itself amidst daily life. A person wakes up in the middle of the night without knowing why, feels an emptiness they don't understand, perceives a discomfort with no clear origin. At the same time, the spirit tries to send small signals, small memories, small sensations, but the ego, trained to silence everything that defies logic, blocks perception. If nothing is done, and the person goes through life without looking at this energetic core, the moment of death brings an inevitable emotional overload. The soul, upon awakening in the spiritual dimension, feels the need to undergo a reorganization process, but doesn't know where to begin. Some souls describe the sensation as entering a room where there has been silence for a long time, but there is still dust in the air, dust that needs to settle before anything can be understood. Others describe a kind of soft fog that hinders immediate clarity, a fog that doesn't hurt, but prevents a full vision of the spiritual plane. And this fog, this dust, this dark corridor, all of this is formed by the vibrational charges accumulated throughout lifetimes. On a physical level, the impact manifests in situations that seem commonplace but have deeper spiritual roots. People who report feeling an unexplained tightness in their chest, or who experience repetitive emotional cycles, or who feel an inner calling they cannot decipher, are unknowingly being affected by this forgotten aspect of the soul. The material body tries to translate what the spirit carries, but since the brain has no language for it, it transforms it into emotional symptoms. It's like trying to decipher messages written in a language that no one else remembers. Only the soul understands, but no one hears it. This is why so many people, upon losing someone, feel energetic changes within their home. Fans that sway without wind, old perfumes that resurface in the air, dreams with symbolic messages, sudden sensations of presence. The recently departed soul, carrying this dense energy, tries to find balance while simultaneously bidding farewell to earthly ties. These phenomena are not hauntings, but natural movements of spiritual purification. The weight the soul carries affects the environment it passes through, and sensitive people, especially young children, easily sense this. It's not uncommon for a 5-year-old to look at a specific corner of the house without being able to explain why. They don't see spirits, but they perceive vibrations. The child doesn't understand intellectually, but energetically recognizes what the adult has learned to ignore. The impact of this forgotten point is so universal that it transcends cultures, beliefs, and generations. In almost all spiritual traditions of the world, there is the idea that the soul goes through a transitional phase after death, a phase in which it reviews its own history, reorganizes its internal fragments, and prepares to move on. And all these descriptions, ancient or modern, speak of the same vibratory process, the need to illuminate what the soul has kept silent for centuries. The denser the core, the slower the journey. The lighter the soul, the gentler the awakening. That's why this topic resonates with so many people. Because deep down, even without fully understanding, every human being has at some point felt a weight they didn't know the origin of. A sensation that seemed to transcend this life. A calling that demanded to be heard more deeply. And when this point remains unrecognized, the soul carries this same confusion to the spiritual plane, delaying a liberation that could have happened sooner, both in life and after death. If this warning resonated with you, leave a comment. Tell us, have you or someone in your family ever experienced this? Your experience could help others too. When the soul traverses the first year after death, it finally finds the necessary space to touch what has been guarded for centuries. The forgotten point, the vibratory core that has accompanied all incarnations. This moment is not one of fear, but of revelation. It is the first time in a long time that the soul can see itself without the filters of the body, without the distractions of the mind, without the barriers of the ego. And it is precisely in this clarity that the true spiritual solution arises, not as a complicated ritual or as forbidden knowledge, but as something natural, simple, and profound, as organic as the soul's breath upon returning home. The first step in this solution is recognition. The soul needs to allow itself to look inward, to perceive the vibration that accompanies it, to feel the density it carries with it from other existences. It's like opening a window that has been closed for a long time, and in doing so, realizing that the air inside is stagnant, waiting for the opportunity to renew itself. This act of awareness is the beginning of cleansing, because what is seen can finally be released. The soul understands without words that there is no judgment, punishment, or guilt. There is only the need to reorganize its own energy field, like someone gathering scattered fragments so that the path can be clear again. After recognition, the soul enters a state of intuitive breathing, not physical breathing, but a vibratory movement reminiscent of air entering and leaving, expanding and contracting, cleansing and filling. This spiritual breathing helps dissolve dense layers, as if each inhalation draws in light and each exhalation releases old memories. The soul begins to feel that some of the weight it has carried for so long no longer belongs to it, because it has already fulfilled its role, has already taught what it needed to teach, has already shown what needed to be understood. In this process, the spirit does something very similar to what a child does naturally. It surrenders to the flow, without resistance, without fear, without trying to control. And it is at this point that the archetype of the 5-year-old boy becomes a powerful image, as if the soul rediscovers within itself that pure sensitivity, that capacity to trust the invisible, that intuition that should never have been lost. Next, the soul enters silence, a silence that is not empty, but full of presence. It is a state in which there are no thoughts, images, or expectations. Only a tranquil, vibratory field that allows karmic memories to begin to detach, like dry leaves that finally fall from the branch after a long autumn. In this silence, the soul converses with itself without words, understanding old passages, revisiting significant moments, releasing promises that no longer make sense, undoing ties that have already served their purpose. It's here that many souls report, in communications through serious mediums, a feeling of emotional clarity so strong that it resembles the idea of seeing for the first time. The forgotten point is no longer a dark place, but a space that begins to receive light. This process requires no specific faith, no ritual, no objects, temples, mantras, or intermediaries. The solution is entirely internal. The soul discovers that it has always had everything it needed to be free. Sincere intention, a desire for evolution, acceptance, and presence. It's as if the spirit finally understands that no external tool makes sense when what needs to be reorganized is within. Vibrational cleansing is a natural reorganization, as accessible as the soul's own consciousness. Any spirit can achieve it, regardless of belief, culture, religion, or personal path. The light that enters the forgotten point depends on nothing more than the willingness to allow it to enter. Throughout this process, the soul begins to instinctively visualize the exact place where that density was stored. It's not an organ, nor a physical point, but a region of the energy field. The soul directs its consciousness to this space, and when it does, it's as if a small spark of light appears there. This spark grows little by little, as if the spirit were lighting a lantern within itself. And this inner glow is reminiscent of the sensitivity of a 5-year-old child, that gaze that sees what is not visible, that ability to perceive what adults have lost, that purity that illuminates even the quietest corners. The soul sees itself as this symbolic child, connected to the essence that existed before any suffering, before any trauma, before any forgetting. As the light expands, old memories begin to detach. These are not memories that cause pain. They are vibrations that were trapped in the form of emotion, repetition, or fear. The soul perceives with profound serenity that nothing needs to be carried eternally. Visualizing this point opening, the spirit feels something akin to a gentle breeze crossing the energy field, as if a window had been opened within the being and the old air was finally leaving. The density dissolves like mist at dawn. The soul breathes through this point that was once shadow, and the vibratory breath causes everything to reorganize naturally. The inner images are powerful. Many souls report seeing inner doors opening easily, doors that had been locked for centuries. Others describe the sensation of a room being gradually illuminated, as if the spiritual world were lighting candles in an environment that had remained dark for a long time. Some say they see this process as rivers of light entering the energy field, flowing delicately, dissolving everything that was stagnant. Other souls feel the process as if they were shedding layers of old, heavy clothing and finally finding themselves free. Each spirit experiences it in its own way, but the essence is always the same. Light finds the space that once belonged to shadow. During this phase of liberation, something very profound happens. The soul understands that there is nothing within it that needs to be hidden. The forgotten point was not a flaw, it was an invitation. It was the soul calling itself to look at what had been postponed. It was a reminder that spiritual evolution does not demand perfection, it demands truth. And when this truth is accepted, when the spirit clearly sees what it has carried, reorganization happens almost instantaneously. Memories of past lives are released, old emotions are dissolved, spiritual bonds are rebalanced, broken promises are serenely fulfilled. The soul feels that it has finally become whole, not because it is without flaws, but because it is enlightened. This process marks what truly happens in the first year after death. The spirit does not wander lost, does not suffer eternally, is not bound to the unknown. It undergoes a profound cleansing, a vibrational reorganization, an expansion of consciousness that transforms its spiritual structure. At the end of this period, the soul is lighter, clearer, freer to access spiritual regions that were previously inaccessible due to the weight of old vibrations. The soul learns that evolution is not a leap, but a return, not an effort, but a remembrance, not a requirement, but an awakening. And when this understanding is established, the soul feels such profound gratitude that it echoes throughout its energy field. Gratitude for having lived, for having learned, for having carried what it carried, and especially for having finally released what needed to be released. It is at this moment that the soul's vibration rises naturally, as if the spirit was slowly ascending to a lighter dimension, where the light is clearer and where everything seems to make sense. If this content is truly helping you, please leave a like so that more people can also benefit from this information. This helps spread light, awareness, and spiritual evolution. When the soul goes through the process of liberation from the forgotten point, something within the spirit itself opens up like a newly illuminated field. The initial pain associated with the mystery of death, that unease that is so often confused with fear, begins to dissolve into a serene understanding. Death ceases to be perceived as a rupture and begins to be understood as a transition, not as disappearance, but as continuity. The soul recognizes that the cycle does not end when the body ceases, but rather when the vibratory memories find the right place to rest. The journey becomes clearer, not because of external answers, but because by looking within itself, the spirit finds meaning in its own journey. By understanding this process, the spirit realizes that what seemed obscure was merely unknown. There was no threat, only layers awaiting light. There was no emptiness, only silence that needed to be listened to. The soul begins to understand that each lived experience, each joy, each loss, each renunciation, each encounter is part of a construction that does not dissolve at the moment of death. Everything remains, everything continues, everything reorganizes itself. This understanding creates a sense of continuity so profound that fear transforms into recognition, as if the spirit were revisiting an ancient truth that had always been there. At this moment of expansion, the image of the 5-year-old boy symbolically emerges, not as an external figure, but as a representation of the state of purity that exists within the spirit itself. It is an intuitive memory, a vibratory recollection of the time when consciousness was new in the body, but ancient in essence. This image functions as a spiritual mirror, showing that sensitivity never disappeared. It merely lay dormant beneath layers of material experiences. The soul recognizes that it has always carried this perception, and that now, without the weight of matter, it returns with clarity. Intuition ceases to be a whisper and becomes a guide once more. Upon rediscovering this intuitive purity, the soul realizes what its own existence would have been like if that childlike gaze, gentle, transparent, free, had been maintained throughout its incarnate life. The realization arises that many of the fears that emerged on the material plane stemmed from the distance between true intuition and learned rigidity. The soul understands that there has always been an inner voice capable of understanding the invisible, but that it was silenced by haste, logic, and the need to control what cannot be controlled. Now, without these barriers, it recognizes the path with greater clarity, and it is in this recognition that a new possibility opens up. The perception that spiritual evolution can happen at any moment, whether on the physical plane or beyond. The vibrational cleansing that occurs after death shows that the spirit does not need to eternally carry what weighed it down. The soul realizes that it can release, reorganize, transform, and illuminate what has remained dormant for so long. The healing process ceases to be seen as something distant and begins to be understood as a natural movement of the being itself. With this clarity, a feeling of inner lightness arises, as if ancient spaces were finally opened and energy could circulate without resistance. The soul understands that nothing it has lived was in vain. Each fragment of human experience served to shape the consciousness that now breathes in a broader dimension. This understanding creates a silent state of peace, not because everything is resolved, but because the spirit, in recognizing itself, finds serenity. The journey ceases to be a frightening mystery and becomes a return to oneself. The symbolic image of the 5-year-old boy remains as a spiritual reminder of this reunion. He represents the part that was never lost, that always knew the way, that always perceived the invisible. It is as if the spirit finally accepts that intuitive purity is not a characteristic of childhood, but a natural state of the soul when it is liberated. This recognition becomes a silent promise of continuity. Consciousness can grow, can expand, can once again hear what it once heard with ease. In this state, the spirit no longer sees death as the end, nor life as the only possible scenario. It sees movement, cycles, returns, expansions. It sees that each existence is a passage, and that the essence remains intact throughout them all. With this perception, a profound tranquility is born, a silent confidence in one's own spiritual path. The soul, illuminated by what it has discovered, moves forward without haste, without fear, and without burden, because it now understands that evolution is its natural destiny. If you've made it this far, it's because this touched something deep within you. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next videos will continue this journey with you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.